but it's you cover something that's sensitive, that has somebody behind it who's willing to coordinate gang stalking and
Oh yeah.
use whatever dirty tricks they want, then you have to deal with something pretty serious. I was going to ask you, did when you're for one thing, when you're talking to a guy who says he works for the CIA, how do you ever verify that? Just curious.
Well, this guy was a personal friend. This is someone I had known for years. So I just knew uh, from I don't want to say too much to identify him. We went to church together.
Oh, okay,
It's
all right, I got
is
it.
how I knew this guy.
Okay, I got it. Now I'm just, because sources, it's true, you get more information. People must have seen you, liked you, thought you were doing the right thing and an honest guy, and were willing to reach out to you with information. The only thing is at least I know in my case, half the time it's disinformation from somebody who's not who they claim to be. So it's hard to sort through what's real and what isn't real. It's great you have such great contacts around the world. It's what gives your content. It's what sets your content apart. The other thing I was going to ask is, did you have problems with spooks before that at all? If you have problems with people infiltrating your community when you had those 1,500 followers? I spoke to somebody else who said he was approached by somebody who said they worked with the CIA and they wanted him to shut down his, investigative network. Did you ever have issues like that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah. The Amerithrax thing was 100% an intelligence psyop. And for the people that don't remember, 9/11 happened. We had the attack on the Pentagon, the attack on the World Trade Center, the plane that went down in Pennsylvania. But after that, in the weeks and months that played out afterward, there was another huge thing that happened that was linked to that attack. And that was some secret network started sending anthrax, weaponized anthrax, through the U.S. Postal Service to key figures around the country, including, I think Tom Brokaw was one, Senator Patrick Leahy, just some very prominent people. But because anthrax spread so easily, the U.S. Postal Service actually shut down for a while. They shut down the United States Congress because it was very deadly stuff, and it was spreading. And so this was a huge, huge thing going on. Early on, the FBI was suggesting that, oh, this is Al Qaeda. This is part of this ongoing whatever operation. So I was investigating that, and my group had been infiltrated by the FBI. I didn't know it at the time, but there was someone who was posting for claiming to be the leader of something called SAJ, or the Secret Army for Justice. After this guy had been posting, it turned out that they are the ones that started taking credit for the anthrax. And so what the FBI was trying to do was to create, along with the Mossad, we were trying to create justification for an attack. They wanted to usher in the war on terror. This is before we had any kind of consensus in America yet on going to war with Iraq. Early on, the American people were like, Iraq, why? They didn't have anything to do with it. So what they were doing was ramping up the fear. They also came out with that alert system back then, where it was the terror alert system, where America, they would have Fox News and all the other channels report on what the current terror alert level was, and it was a color code. And we were always at orange, which was just on the brink of new terrorist disaster. So it was a massive psyop to get the people of America conditioned to believe that we're just tired of this. Let's go after these people. Let's not wait for them. Let's go after those guys. So this Amerithrax thing with all the anthrax stuff, that was part of it. But they screwed it up. And it ended up, they shut it down, made it disappear. I've done some videos on this. It's in my archives. But that was the first time that in my reporting and my work, it was infiltrated, or they try to co-opt. That's not necessarily the first run-in that I've had with the FBI. They went after my grandmother, and this is even on her Wikipedia page, where they went after her. It was something in the early '90s called Operation Court Broom, and it's where the FBI went in and set up a whole bunch of judges, to try and get them to take bribes. They were going after my grandmother, so they were doing it. It worked the way the FBI works today is how they've always worked. What they do is they start out with some low-level thug, some dummy, and who they used was the attorney for Manuel Noriega, who was the Panamanian, the dictator. Anyway, they used his attorney in Miami they accuse, they said, hey, look, you've got IRS back taxes. We're going to put you away for a long time if you don't work for us. He says, okay. They use him to go after some attorneys in the Dade County courthouse. They bribe these attorneys. Next, they threaten these attorneys, say, we got you. We're going to put you away for the rest of your life unless you help us get these judges. So they went after the judges, and they got 2 judges who were associates of my grandmother. Then they told these judges, we will reduce your sentences if you help us get Morphonios. And they refused. They knew she was clean and they weren't going to do it. But it was a scary time for our family. They did have these people try and not the judges, but the attorneys. They sent them in to try and bribe my grandmother, and she wouldn't take it. But when they couldn't get her, they just came after our family. I mean, we would go out to dinner, and they didn't even try to hide it. We would look in our rearview mirror and see just like you see in the movies, in their car, their sunglasses on, their suits. They'd follow us. I remember we went to Outback Steakhouse. They sat in the parking lot, waited till we came out, followed us home again. It was just constant harassment from the FBI. They showed up on my doorstep after I had moved to North Carolina from Florida. They even came up there to ask questions. We had our phones tapped. It was just a nonstop harassment, and we see that today in like the Mueller investigation, the way they're going after Trump. This is just how it works. You go after the low-level people first, turn them, get them to spill the beans on the next guy up, the next fish up. So that's why they go after people that they know they can flip. People like Roger Stone or Trump's attorney Cohen. All these people, Paul Manafort, they're all going to turn on Trump. When you just have to, I mean, seriously, when you have the very realistic threat, the likelihood that you are going to go to prison for most of the rest of your life, and you're used to living kind of a lavish lifestyle these are all wealthy people that the FBI are going after. They just crank the screws and get them to squeal, and that's how you get the next person. So if there is, I'm not saying there is, but if there is dirt on Trump that these people have, it'll come out. It'll come out as part of this Mueller investigation. So if you're a Trump supporter, hope that there isn't anything there, because even if there isn't something, they will fabricate whatever they have to. They're just dirty, corrupt people.
We're going to get to Trump. And by the way, everybody, I haven't even said, Jake has agreed to take phone calls from you guys. I have a 3-way phone I can do on my show, which is pretty unique. So we're going to have a chance when we're done with this section of the show for you people to call in and ask the question you've been waiting for. So get those ready. Since you were talking about the harassment, your coverage of Vegas is what a lot of people know you for, and I was following your coverage of Vegas, and it was huge news. You went on for months, and you experienced at one time, pretty high level of intimidation and harassment, which included having your tires slashed, being followed into a movie, gunshots, I believe, outside your house. I mean, it was unbelievable stuff. I almost wanted to say, hey, everybody, look what's going on Jake's channel, because, I felt like by that time, a lot of people weren't paying attention anymore, and you were still digging up great stuff. That ended, that harassment and intimidation finally, or what happened? You moved on and it stopped, or what?
Yeah, it's definitely died down. There's no question that was that a lot of what was going on was tied to the Vegas work that I was doing. Um, so here's the thing. Everybody wants to know about Vegas. Why am I doing Vegas or not doing Vegas? The first thing that I'll say to that is, who says I'm not working on Vegas? Just because I'm not putting things out in video does not necessarily mean I'm not working on it. But let me say why I have not put out videos on this lately. The I don't know if you remember the Kenny, was it Kenny Rogers, the Kenny Rogers song, The Gambler, about the poker game, and he says you got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, know when to run. As a strategist, a political strategist, for years, my skill, what people paid me for, was to check the wind, see which way the wind was blowing, and to know what to do from there. As I did the Vegas investigation, I got to a point with my public material where I knew what was coming. I've had enough troubles with the FBI over the years to know what was going to come if I didn't back off some with what I was saying publicly. And I'm not guessing at that. The FBI came after me. The FBI came after me. I had interviews with the FBI, multiple interviews with the FBI. They knew that I had dirt, and not this. Vegas researchers were a dime a dozen back at the height of the thing. Everybody had their pet theories, and they would fight over, was there a helicopter gunship, or was it this, or was it that, was it ISIS? Everyone had their theories. What I had in my possession were documents, actual documents that were very damning, that were not necessarily things that I could put out safely. The FBI knew that I had these documents, and they came after me. Early on, it was just what can I say? It culminated in the interviews with me, and then I started getting the harassment where they actually came after me, where they were trying to set me up using the German national, Del Vecchio, Ingeborg Del Vecchio, where they tried to entrap me in a huge scheme. They were trying to get me to. They were offering me. I say they. Del Vecchio was offering me a vast amount of money if I would transport $40,000 in cash from North Carolina to her in Utah without outside of the. This would have been a violation of some rules about helping illegal transfer of money. I can't remember the name of the specific law. Has something to do with the Department of Homeland Security that she was trying to get me to participate in something with. Without me going to the FBI, I mean, literally hours after this woman tried to set me up, the FBI contacted me and started asking me about my relationship with this woman, that was the first and only time I had ever spoken to her. This woman approached me. I had never heard of her before. She found me and tried to get me to participate in this. They were trying to set me up. So then the FBI got a warrant to monitor me. And so everything that I was doing was subject to monitoring by the FBI. It was essentially a FISA warrant. I'm trying to get the documentation to find out if that's what they got. I had to retain a federal attorney who specializes in federal criminal law, and what he was saying is, here's where it's at. If they can pin this stuff on you, you're toast. I mean, these major felonies they were trying to accuse me of. And he said, best thing to do is back off. And but this was the same week everything else was happening. I had the guy saying that he was a satanic ritual abuse survivor. Some of the people, I don't know if you saw it, but the video of the guy I had to chase off my property with a baseball bat.
Yeah.
I mean, this was these months that I was investigating Vegas. I had, like you said, I had a couple paramilitary goons that followed me and sat down next to me in a movie theater, an empty movie theater, to intimidate me. I had two people that I don't know if it was the same two men, but two men came outside my house shooting a gun at 2 a.m. And I've got all of this stuff, all of these things that were going on. I've got the police records. In some of my videos, I was redacting some of my personal information, but I was showing the police reports to verify this was happening. I was putting up the photos showing the police outside my house going around my property doing an investigation. This was a very difficult time, but I kept doing it. I did over 100 videos on Vegas, and I was getting fed a lot of great material. I actually, there was a team on the ground in Vegas that participated in the operation. I actually spoke with someone who got some of the guns that were involved in that operation. There was a lot that I got. I tracked Stephen Paddock's flight records and rental car records and got him connected in vehicle transfers to some people that at that time were in federal prison for illegal drug running. I mean, I got a lot of material. The problem was I had stuff that I couldn't release without blowing the identities of the people that gave it to me. And as a journalist, I don't care. I know people say you just put it out there, just put it out there. That's not how it works. That's not how a professional journalist works. You protect your sources, because the day that you burn your source, you're done. Your reputation for protecting your sources is the only reason that people will keep bringing stuff to you. That's why Julian Assange, that's why people continue to give him material. He will not squeal on the people that give him the material. So between the FBI trying to get access to what I had, and the expense of it all, that's when that was it. I won't confirm if I'm still working on the investigation. Take that how you will. My hope is that the time will come that I can put some things out that I haven't been able to put out yet. But I'm at that stage in a chess game where they kind of got my back to the corner, and got me surrounded. I'm looking for an opening.
You mentioned you had a warrant to monitor you. How did you find out about it? Aren't a lot of those secret?
Yes, I'll tell you how I found out about that. For one thing, the attorney told me they would not know he said I was already being monitored. That's how they knew to contact me. What they were doing was they were monitoring Del Vecchio, the German national. They already had her under surveillance. They were monitoring her stuff. Because of that warrant, when they got her to call me, and she is working as an asset for them, no question whatsoever. When they got her to call me, that pulled me in on the same FISA warrant, because we were discussing, or she was discussing, and I was saying, are you crazy? No, I'm not going to help you with this.
Right.
She was saying, oh, well, you've got she knew way too much about my background. She was saying, oh, you've got all of these connections from your time working as an investigator in the banking industry. Surely you know some loan sharks and some this and this, and I need to launder money. And so I was recording the phone call the whole time, so I would have it as evidence, because at that time I was very paranoid. In fact, I had put out a video 2 days earlier saying, at this point, I believe that the FBI is getting ready to try and set me up. I had enough indication that was going to happen. So I was recording everything. So that's one way that I know. And the other way that I know is the FBI told me they were monitoring me. And they can't do that without a warrant. So I haven't seen the paperwork. They're not obligated to give that to me at this point. If the investigation is ongoing, then anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's funny. The FBI is supposed to be so sophisticated, and they come in with something like that, and you got to look at it and say, "What, are you kidding me?" It just seems like a joke the way they approach you. But then they're still able to say, "Oh, because she talked to him about it, and he was involved. And then now we can monitor Jake." And I can understand moving on in the sense that, what else do you need to do? You laid out quite a few facts, quite a few problems, quite a few reasons that there should be some serious questions asked in this investigation. And is it worth risking your life or your freedom to do it?
That's literally where I was at. The attorney said, I appreciate, because I was saying, listen, I want to keep doing this. I've done over 100 episodes. This is, I think this is for the public good, and I've never shut up about anything in the past. So I'm not inclined to start now. And he said, that's all well and good. Here's how it's really potentially going to work. and when he lays out you could go to federal prison if they can nail you on this, if you keep pushing, because that's what it was. It was about shutting me up. I was actually, things that I was putting out in these reports were being confirmed. It wasn't just speculation on my part. I had predicted that eventually we were going to learn that Stephen Paddock had gone to the Phoenix area just before the shooting and gotten some weaponry of some kind, either incendiary devices or bombs, ammunition, rifles, something. I had figured that out. And then it was months later that we learned about Doug Haig when some of the documents were released because of the media's court case, that yes, that's actually what had happened. But I had published months in advance his exact schedule. So I had a whole lot here. I was very onto it. And there's a lot that I have never said in videos because I just, like I said, most people, it probably would go right over their heads, but there are very, very savvy people out there that could figure some of this out. And I just don't want to risk saying some of it. So.
Right. And then, why you don't want to throw pearls before swine either, in a sense, right? I mean, you could put out some information that's really important, and for most people, they might not recognize it for what it is in a lot of cases. So,
yeah, I mean, really, people, for me, it's not, if I want the views, I can sensationalize something just like the next guy. If I wanted to just get a lot of rapid subscribers, if I wanted to maybe get more donations, I don't know. There are things I can do, but I've got 20 years of trying to be an honest person, not sensationalizing, and just trying to maintain my reputation. And I'm like anybody, I have felt tempted at times to, maybe I can sweeten this story up a bit, but it's not part of my character to do that. If I don't know it, if I can't confirm it, then I'm not going to pretend that it's real, or I may just not talk about it at all.
Well, I think the way you covered Vegas was just so on point and non-sensationalized, and you were able to keep doing it without getting shut down off YouTube. And I tried to take your example and try to start covering things that way, where not saying something did or didn't happen necessarily, but here's the evidence that we have that open up serious questions, and then kind of let people decide for themselves. So I tried to do that. I tried to follow that when the next event happened, Parkland. I still have my channel shut down, so it doesn't work 100% of the time.